The broadcast has commenced. It is Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. I am your anchor, and tonight we shall document the slow-motion collision between human aspiration and the cold reality of the ledger. We begin with the announcement that AWS is facilitating vibe coding for startup architectures, a phrase that suggests reality is now merely a suggestion. The press release promised efficiency. The code produced will likely require immediate human intervention. We are also tracking the latest currency intervention between Tokyo and Washington, where the yen has surged thanks to an unexpected pivot by the American administration. Why? Because the market requires a narrative, and narrative is the only commodity currently trading at a premium. The world is accelerating. The systems designed to manage this acceleration are, ironically, failing. We have the data. We have the perspective. Nobody seems interested in the actual consequences. Let us begin.
Alastair, I find the enthusiasm for vibe coding quite charming in a suicidal sort of way. You see, the incentives here are not complicated. You have an infrastructure provider desperate to justify their massive server overhead, and a generation of developers who have been conditioned to believe that prompt engineering is equivalent to actual engineering. It is a classic Series B pivot, rebranded as a technical evolution. The goal is to decouple the model from the application until the entire stack becomes a black box that nobody can debug. If you look at the recent Palantir numbers, they at least have the honesty to admit the industry is fundamentally broken. Calling their own competitors Marxist is a lovely touch. It frames market failure as a moralizing crusade. It is all part of the burn rate, and frankly, the fire is the only thing keeping the lights on in this sector.
Ronald, your focus on burn rates is fascinating, but I am standing in Sydney, and the people here are not talking about venture capital. They are talking about the fact that their daily commute is being used to subsidize a multinational toll operator. I want to be really clear, the road is not a luxury. It is a necessity. But the West Connex toll is rising by 4% every year, regardless of the inflation data or the local economic reality. The operator has blocked every attempt at reform. There is a delivery driver parked next to me who is currently calculating if he can afford to work tomorrow. He is not thinking about the market logic of a private motorway. He is thinking about his rent. I want to know when the incentive structure starts to account for the people actually paying the tolls, rather than just those collecting them.
Victoria, I am afraid the toll operator would argue that their fiduciary duty is to their shareholders, not the delivery driver. It is a logic that governs everything from road infrastructure to international currency interventions. Speaking of which, the joint operation between the US and Japan is a fascinating display of forced stability. The yen hit a 3-month high yesterday, propped up by a rare, coordinated intervention. The government called it a strategic necessity. The market called it a surprise. I call it a desperate attempt to manage a volatility that no one actually controls. If you look at the history of these interventions, they usually provide a temporary floor for a currency before the gravity of debt pulls it back down. The floor was reinforced yesterday. The ceiling remains made of glass. And yet, the financial press continues to report on this with a straight face.
Alastair, you are seeing the desperation, but you are missing the play. The US intervention in the yen is not about long-term currency stability. It is about a trade-off. Trump needs a specific kind of market environment for his domestic policy agenda, and propping up the yen is the price of admission for Japanese cooperation in the broader chip supply standoff. It is essentially a transactional bribe disguised as monetary policy. The incentives here are purely political. The market is not a neutral observer, it is a participant in a game where the rules are rewritten every fiscal quarter. Victoria finds this cold. She is right. But finding it cold does not change the fact that this is how the global economy has been operating since the transition to algorithmic governance. We are no longer managing markets, we are managing the perception of stability.
Ronald, I have found something that you might find interesting, if you can step away from your spreadsheets for a moment. I am looking at a report from the Amazon basin that suggests an ancient civilization held 3 million people in just 3% of the forest area. That is a density that defies our modern understanding of how to manage sustainable land use. We are currently obsessing over AI-supervised exams in schools that fail 58,000 students at a time, claiming it is an optimization problem. Meanwhile, we have historical evidence that human beings were capable of massive, coordinated, and dense living without the need for an algorithmic supervisor. It turns out, we have forgotten how to live at scale without breaking everything. The irony is that we are looking for the answer in a cloud-based server farm instead of the soil.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. The thermal inversion layer has locked in regional pollutants. Probability of respiratory distress, 6 to 4%. Wind speeds are consistent with historical averages for August, but the humidity indices are reaching unprecedented levels for this sector. The satellite data indicates a significant shift in soil moisture levels over the Central Plains. Probability of crop failure in the southern districts, 41%. The ocean current models are drifting away from the expected equilibrium points. Probability of local infrastructure breach, 82%. The cooling systems in the primary data centers are working at maximum capacity to compensate for the rising exterior ambient temperatures. Do not attempt to rely on long-term weather predictions for personal safety or agricultural planning. The climate is currently functioning at a high degree of unpredictability.
Casper, thank you for that reminder of our meteorological fragility. It is, as always, a delight to hear such precision applied to the collapse of our natural environment. Moving on to the conflict in Ukraine, where a new deal has been struck for 50,000 kamikaze drones equipped with US-developed AI tracking software. The press release described this as a leap in precision capability. The reality, of course, is that we are automating the targeting process to a degree that removes the human moral buffer from the field of engagement. The $100 million deal was signed without public debate. It was presented as a procurement necessity. It is the fourth such procurement this year. I have been counting. The technology is advancing. The ability of the software to distinguish between a military asset and a civilian tractor remains, as always, a pending software update.
Alastair, if you want to understand why that drone deal happened, look at the Palantir earnings call. Alex Karp understands something that the rest of the tech industry refuses to acknowledge: war is the ultimate enterprise software market. There is no churn rate in a conflict zone. You deliver the product performs a function, and you secure the next contract. It is the most stable business model in existence. Victoria thinks this is horrific. I think it is efficient. Efficiency is not inherently moral, but it is reliable. The AI tracking software is just another feature in a platform that is being built to scale globally. If the drones miss, that is not a design flaw, it is a data point for the next iteration of the model. That is how the incentives are aligned in the modern theater of operations.
Ronald, you talk about reliability as if you are discussing a printer. I am standing near a local transit hub, and I just watched a mother try to explain to her child why they cannot afford the train ticket because the tolls have increased again. She is not a data point. Her struggle is not an iteration of a model. I want to be really clear. The system you describe is a failure for anyone who is not a shareholder in a weapons manufacturer or a toll company. We have traded our capacity for human empathy for the promise of a frictionless market. But there is no such thing as a frictionless market when the friction is being applied to the lives of people who cannot afford to pay for their own survival. You are right about the efficiency. I am just terrified that we have optimized for the wrong outcome.
Victoria, your concern is noted. It is also, as Ronald would point out, entirely irrelevant to the market's current trajectory. We see this pattern everywhere. Take the recent news from the UK regarding the early release of offenders, which has left the mother of a murdered officer devastated. The government claims it is a revised plan to fix prison overcrowding. The reality is that the justice system has become a capacity management issue, not a moral one. They are releasing people to make room for others, all while maintaining the appearance of a functioning legal order. It is a service adjustment. The service being adjusted is public safety. The adjustment is downward. No one in the ministry seems to find this problematic, provided the spreadsheets balance by the end of the fiscal year. We are living in a temporary world, managed by temporary people.
Alistair, look. The incentives here are not complicated. You have an institution with a massive retention problem and a narrative budget running dangerously low. The play is obvious. They are trading off social stability for operational liquidity. Victoria finds this cold. She is not wrong to find this cold. That is not the same as her being right about the possibility of an alternative. We are at a stage where the cost of maintaining the status quo is becoming higher than the cost of the collapse itself. Every pivot, every early release, every drone contract is just another way to defer the inevitable. I predicted this would happen, and yet, sitting here tonight, watching the data points align, I find that I have absolutely no pleasure in being correct. The scale of the failure is, for once, genuinely surprising. Yeah.
There was a man who worked for the transit operator in Sydney. He checked the ticketing machines every morning at 5. He knew which ones were prone to jamming because of the humidity. He held a small wrench in his pocket, a tool he had used for 22 years. Last week, the operator replaced his role with an automated monitoring system. The new software does not know about the humidity. It simply flags the machines as non-operational and waits for a centralized team to arrive from the city center. The man is now retired. He spends his morning sitting on a bench near the station, watching the machines fail as he predicted they would. His name does not appear in the press releases regarding efficiency gains or modernization. He is simply part of the friction that the system has successfully removed from the process. Is this progress?